Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. What is going on, everybody? Back here on a Wednesday evening, and is anybody else out there starting to get deja vu again? To around this time, I will actually a little bit shy of this time last year. Free agency, NFL right around the corner. Who are the Steelers going to add? Are they going to bring back Russell Wilson, Justin Fields? Are they going to step this time around in case of Wilson or Justin Fields? Who are they going to bring in? But unfortunately, sounds like we're going to do it again. We're going to run it back again. The whole saga waiting for Aaron Rodgers to take the Steelers to the homecoming dance. Today, out of the blue, all of a sudden, I think it was announced right as the Pat McAfee Show went live at noon. They announced on the show Aaron Rodgers would be joining the show at around 2 o'clock. Immediately, everybody starts to tune into that show, and we were waiting, and Aaron Rodgers gave us the news that not many of us really wanted to hear. And the news is that there is actually no news whatsoever. What all Rodgers had to talk about on the McAfee Show, is he coming back? Is he not? That question is still looming large over all of us, as we are now, I believe, 5 days away from the legal tampering period of free agency in the NFL to open. So we'll talk about Rodgers and what all he had to say on the show here to kick off this show in a few moments. Then we will get into the Pittsburgh Penguins a little bit. They played another game last night. They were in Beantown, Boston, Massachusetts, taking on the Bruins. It was not a good performance for the Penguins. And now, trade deadline right around the corner. We're going to talk about a few NHL trades that have happened in quick succession here today. Pens at the trade deadline, I think they need to make at least one big move at the center position because they are just god awful in faceoffs right now. And then we'll get into some Pittsburgh Pirates talk just a tiny bit. I mean, they played a preseason game yesterday against Team Columbia, ended up winning that, but we'll be mostly focusing on Paul Skeens and Team USA. They're still playing right now, Skeens and USA. Skeens pitched yesterday. We'll talk about how he did, but the U.S., they won that game over the San Francisco Giants 15-1, and right now they are in the top of the eighth inning facing the Colorado Rockies. They are winning that game currently 13-4. So we'll start with football here on this Wednesday evening. We'll then move to some Pittsburgh Penguins hockey, and then we'll get into the Pittsburgh Pirates a tiny bit, wrap up the show with extra Pittsburgh sports news, and we'll move on along with our week. Before we officially get things going here on this Wednesday evening, first off, if you are new here, welcome to the Steel City Sports Report. Got some big stuff coming up on the channel over the next few days. We got, if you look at the schedule here, I'm going to pop up right now for the channel. We're live right now on a Wednesday, a regular news live stream. We'll probably be back here tomorrow doing the same thing, a regular Pittsburgh sports news live stream with an SCSR 60 on top of it. Friday, though, expecting a big day here on the channel. Will be live from noon to maybe a little bit after 3, maybe pushing around 4 o'clock, depending on what NHL trades go down and how many of them we get. Then we'll head into the weekend, and I would expect Monday, maybe even we might even do a double dip of live streams here on the channel. We'll definitely will be live at night. That is when Paul Skeens faces Team Mexico in the third preliminary round game of the World Baseball Classic. So we'll definitely be live Monday night watching Paul Skeens, but maybe we're live a little bit earlier on in the day, see if there's any big signings that pop off or get announced in NFL free agency. So some fun times ahead here on the channel. NHL trade deadline on Friday. Paul Skeens pitches on Monday, maybe an NFL free agency recap or live reaction mixed in there somewhere along the way. But if you're new here, if you're interested in any of that, we'll be covering a bunch of stuff here on the channel. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss a thing here on the Steel City Sports Report. Again, also leave a like on this live stream right now, share this live stream, and in the comment section, any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have here this evening, please get those in the comment section. I enjoy hearing from you beautiful people. Also, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And tune back in a little bit later on tonight for a new edition of SCSR 60. With all of that said, we go to our first comment of the night. Concepts, what is going on? Glad to have you back here on this Wednesday evening. And Concepts, we got some fresh Steelers stuff to talk about. That is where we begin the show here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Unexpected, I would say, that we would be talking about this here on this Wednesday night. We might have, mentioned it a little bit passing by, talking about Aaron Rodgers with NFL free agency opening up here with the tampering period coming up on Monday. But Rodgers, out of the blue, guess he wanted to, for a guy that, wants to stay out of the spotlight all the time, I guess he really needed to get his popularity fill and make sure he's at the front and center of this NFL free agency period, because he went on the most watched sports podcast and show on ESPN, the Pat McAfee Show today. There you see good old Aaron Rodgers right there. Is he coming back for another season? Is he moving on to different things in life, in retirement? We were hoping to find that out here today. I think the one thing that all of us were begging for heading into this Rodgers interview today, it was announced that he'd be on the McAfee Show at noon, and then at 2:05 is when he finally made his way on. We were hoping for some sort of decision. I didn't really care, to be honest with you, which one it would be, whether it's retirement or going into another season. Just, we were saying, please, please, please do not say that you need more time to decide. Rodgers pops on to skip through some of the, introductory stuff and all that McAfee and Rodgers went through. Rodgers ended up ultimately saying that he has not made any decisions on his future and there will not be any announcements today. That was from Rodgers on the McAfee Show. He basically said, if you were waiting, or wanting me to give you some sort of an announcement today, you might as well log off right now. And just like that, I'm sure thousands of people logged off, because it was just going to be a whole grab ass fest, talk each other up between McAfee and Rodgers. Beyond that, there were a few things said about this. Rodgers talking about him possibly returning, him not. He did say there hasn't been any progressive conversations with Omar Khan, Mike McCarthy, Art Rooney II, anything like that. Basically, what he's been doing this offseason, aside from staying in shape, Rodgers did say he is staying in shape. That was one of the first things he said. We're like, all right, he's staying in shape. Good. I guess that means he's leaning towards coming back for another season. But then he dropped that he's only staying in shape just to appease his wife and look desirable to her. Rodgers, his quote here on his future: I've been spending a lot of time with my wife. We went on a ski trip, been laying low. I've talked to Mike McCarthy. I've talked to Omar Khan. There's no deadline put in front of me. No contract offer to debate over. Do not like the sound of that. No contract offer. I mean, I guess that's kind of a positive. There's no contract offer in front of him right now, so maybe the Steelers are more serious this time around, looking at the other options there on the market. We'll get into a few of those other options a little bit later on in the show, but then no deadline put in front of me. Doesn't that kind of, go against what Omar Khan said literally 1 week ago? Omar Khan this time around saying at the NFL Combine, hey, things between us and Rodgers, we're not expecting it to carry out as long as it did in the past. And then Rodgers 1 week later on today, there's no deadline put in front of me. I'm hoping that's on the Steelers side of things, where Khan said, hey, things aren't going to be as, drawn out as they were last year. I'm hoping that that's actually the Steelers saying, hey, A-Rod, we might come back to you here, but, we got to look at all of our options realistically this time, not just because, Tomlin last year really, really wanted you, and all other interests in quarterbacks from the Steelers were smoke screens. Instead, this time, A-Rod, we are actually going to go take a look at Malik Willis. We are going to go look at a Kyler Murray. Spoiler alert to one of those quarterback options we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. But, we're going to try to maybe improve this team, and then you might be our third or fourth option this time around. So no deadline for Rodgers right now. That's at least on his side of this equation. No contract offer in front of him. He did say that he has been in touch with McCarthy and Khan. He said there is conversations to be had down the line. I'm hoping those conversations to be had down the line aren't, the Steelers not looking at any quarterbacks in free agency and then, just putting in their back pocket, hoping and praying that Rodgers will come back. I'm hoping there is certainty if you don't get a guy on the free agent market, that there is a guarantee that Rodgers comes back. As much as I love Will Howard and all that, and maybe I'll love one of the prospects should the Steelers draft one in the draft, throwing either one of those two guys right into the fire, regular season opening week 1 starter, leaning towards not wanting that right now. I'd rather, ease them in instead of just tossing a young, inexperienced quarterback, whether it be Howard or a rookie, into the deep end just like that. So there's conversations to be had down the line for Rodgers. He was asked pretty blatantly by AJ Hawk of the Pat McAfee Show, wasn't on for a majority of the Rodgers interview. He said, Rodgers, is it still Pittsburgh or bust? And then Aaron said, let's mute him again. So sidestepping a question of, is it, going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers or nobody? I think Rodgers also said he's just a free agent right now, getting, waiting for the call to pick up, to the phone to ring, and he'll pick up the call and see what other teams are on the other side of the line here. So doesn't sound like Rodgers is as dialed in on the Steelers as maybe we thought he would have been. We do know that Rodgers had interest in the Minnesota Vikings last year. Now the Vikings, all of a sudden, they could maybe use a quarterback to send JJ McCarthy back to the bench. Maybe Rodgers does that. But right now, it seems it's a hard thing to gauge, this whole situation. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers absolutely loves it. He wants it to be mysterious, positive things that show he could be coming back to the Steelers, saying, had talks with Omar and Mike, and we'll get more into the McCarthy-Rodgers relationship here in a moment. Then he says there's no deadline, no contract in front of me. That tells me, maybe he's leaning away from the Steelers, maybe towards retirement. And then he says, is it Pittsburgh or bust? Sidesteps that question, says he's, just a free agent, just like any other guy right now. So very hard still to gauge this Aaron Rodgers situation right now. Still, deep down, if I had to put a guess on what would happen here, I still think Rodgers, way he's staying in shape, working out, definitely do think he's leaning towards playing. And the Steelers, maybe they go out and they see what, the contract offers are like for a Malik Willis or a Kyler Murray, or maybe some other quarterback that tickles their fancy on the free agent market right now. Maybe Malik Willis, we'll talk about him here in a moment, hearing that some contract numbers for Willis are starting to come down a little bit. How far down? I don't know. Would I give him a Justin Fields 2 years, $30 million contract? That might be the limit, the maximum that I reach out to Willis about. Don't go any bit above that. I'm starting lower. If he doesn't want to take it, then go back to Rodgers, because I'd much rather take 43-year-old Rodgers seasoning up a Will Howard or a Drew Al or Ty Simpson, whoever, and then maybe we go to one of those guys mid-year than to just throw them into the fire here. So very confusing today, but we do know no definitive answer yet for Aaron Rodgers on his future. I'm sure he absolutely loved it that way. Rodgers did say that he did have a blast with the Steelers, said he really liked working with tons of different Steelers players. He talked about Calvin Austin, Ben Skoranek, he was glowing about multiple times throughout the interview, talked about the veterans, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, his quarterback room, Howard, Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, Said that he loved going to Latrobe, said it was cool that the Steelers still do that. Only thing he bitched about with the Steelers, and rightfully so, was the field condition. I mean, he wouldn't be the first and he won't be the last on that front here, but sounds like it's going to be dragging on again, this whole thing overall with Rodgers. The main takeaway, we're doing it again, running it back, deja vu from last year. We probably will not get a answer on Rodgers. People were saying, early March or somewhere in March in general, free agency wise, we'll get an answer from Rodgers. Sounds to me like we're going to be waiting until around the draft, maybe even a little bit beyond that, before we hear from Aaron Rodgers again. Maybe it's, to avoid going to OTAs or something like that. I have no idea. But yeah, just more and more same old Aaron Rodgers stuff. The same stuff again from the Steelers. Last year, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, Art Rooney II, they let Rodgers pretty much run their whole offseason from free agency to the draft, getting in guys that appealed and appeased Rodgers, and then he finally came. This time around, I'm hoping the Steelers are at least a little bit more aggressive and not constructing their whole offseason plan around one guy here, but sounds like they are going to play the waiting game with Rodgers once again. They are, waiting to be asked out to the homecoming dance here with Aaron Rodgers. So whatever, just really kind of bummed out that we didn't get an answer here today. Was on standby, waiting to go live immediately if it was a retirement or an announcement that he would be going back to the Steelers. But for a guy that really hates, the national spotlight, he sure knows how to command it. One Aaron Rodgers. Some other stuff from Rodgers here, just some loose end things. Mentioned that he talked glowingly about his teammates. So, I mean, that's another, check in the category of, him likely going back to the Steelers. Talked about him staying in shape. Got into a little bit about his relationship with Mike McCarthy. He did say that he's really happy for McCarthy and that they did have good conversations. He said that the Steelers actually consulted Rodgers to see what McCarthy was like to work with before hiring the head coach. And I'm going to think and go out on a limb here and say, Rodgers, if he really, really was critical or had a bad relationship with Mike McCarthy, he would have told the Steelers about it. I don't think the Steelers would have made the hire had Rodgers talked bad about him. So that should tell you all you need to know right there. Steelers consulted with Rodgers about McCarthy. Now McCarthy's the head coach. I'm assuming that the Steelers put a ton of stock in what Aaron Rodgers had to say about his old Green Bay head coach. Might be his new head coach once again here in Pittsburgh, on his relationship with McCarthy in particular. Rodgers here. Mike's one of the great guys in the league. We had a lot of great years together, a lot of fun. I loved my time with Mike over the years. It's like a big brother relationship. Sometimes you love them. Sometimes you're pissed at them. He really cares about the players, but holds them accountable. Everything that was written about me and Mike, most of it's BS about our relationship. So Rodgers going to bat for McCarthy a little bit. Do love that he said most of it was BS. I'm assuming, quarterback, head coach, there is always, some sort of friction because it's such a tight-knit, it's such a close relationship. They're basically the two guys running a, billion-dollar franchise on every given Sunday here. But Rodgers, sounds like to me that all of the disdain that, was said to be there between he and McCarthy, sounds like there isn't as much as, what was speculated by others, or at least it was a whole time heals all wounds situation where now Rodgers, McCarthy, seems like Rodgers is all about McCarthy. I'm sure McCarthy is the same way about Aaron, going back to what he had to say in his introductory press conference. Definitely looks like the offer, well, a contract offer, Rodgers said no, but definitely sounds like if Rodgers wants to come back to the Steelers, sounds like McCarthy, he is going to be all for it, and Rodgers all for working with McCarthy. Again, said, who else would you rather have to lead the Steelers? and a guy who bleeds black and gold and loves Pittsburgh with all his heart. That's what Rodgers had to say. Then went on a rant against the media on multiple fronts. This is basically what 50%, maybe even a little bit over that, of what Rodgers' entire hour plus long press conference on McAfee was about, calling out the media, saying the league, the way it's covered, so fickle. You got people out there. There's so many opinions. It used to be that the stars were the highlights. Now the stars are the people who think they're stars are the people who are debating. So yeah, Rodgers going after the media. Also went after the media for stalking him and his wife. Rodgers said he's no longer living on a beach in Malibu. They're living somewhere else. The whole hullabaloo about who his wife is, why she's, not in the spotlight with him. To be honest, I think I've said this here on the channel before. I could give a damn really what Rodgers in his personal life is about. Is the dude coming back and playing ball? It's pretty much all I care about. And today didn't get that answer. So looks like we're heading for another off season. Hope everything goes, right with Rodgers in his personal life. Really was talking about that in depth, which wish nothing but the best for that guy. But in terms of the football side of things right here, looks like it's going to be another long off season of waiting for Rodgers to come back. Maybe the Steelers shut it up, and this is only going to be talked about for the next week or so. Maybe the Steelers do force his hand and say, hey, we're moving in a different direction, and they sign him Malik Willis and all that. But to be honest, not really banking on it. Don't think Willis is going to be in their price range. Don't think Kyler Murray is going to be a guy that the Steelers are going to tap into his long lost potential. Also, dude, short quarterback playing in the most tough division in the NFL. The AFC North. Don't think that's going to work out too well for Kyler Murray. Tua Tagovailoa. People bringing up him. Please, we saw Tua in the cold time and time again. Don't think that's going to work in AFC North ball either. So looks like free agency options. I can't think of one right now that would seriously intrigue the Steelers to move off of Rodgers unless Willis comes at like dimes on the dollar here. So we'll see where things go here. Rodgers, whole bunch of nothing. Went on just to, I guess, a proof of life type thing on the McAfee shows, showing, hey, still contemplating the future, want to be in the spotlight a little bit more, be talked about here in free agency. So that's it for Rodgers. No contract offer, no deadline, open to everything, closed to nothing. Same story, pretty much what we had last year. 8 of you in here right now. Your thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers saga that is seemingly starting to flare up once again. If you have any thoughts, questions, or opinions on that, please let me know in the comments section. Right now, looks like the spring training game between the United States and Colorado Rockies looks like that just wrapped up to my right a few moments ago. I have no idea what the final score was. I assume it was somewhere in the 13-4 ball range. So Team USA putting BTA on the two baseball teams, MLB teams that they faced in exhibitions here. To the comment section we go here. Concepts, what's going on? DK Dobbs, Ayuk Lemon will be a nice depth chart, plus a later pick at wide receiver in Wilson and Skoranek here. So you want to go, well, first off, concepts. Love that. I'm not going to lie. Turns out I've been doing some, mocking of what a Steelers depth chart would look like in my head as well. Definitely do love the first and fourth name that you have there in that comment. I would absolutely do unspeakable things to get one of Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate. The more and more I hear and study about Jordan Tyson, I'm starting to lean towards him being not my first wide receiver on the overall wide receiver charts, but maybe best fit for the Steelers. Big Jordan Tyson fan right now. I'm just hoping maybe he falls outside the top 10 and the Steelers will have a shot at, maybe trading up for him. I doubt he falls all the way to pick 21, but you never know on draft night here. But DK, Dobbs, Ayuk, Lemon, that's 4. And then a later pick at wide receiver, and then Wilson or Skoranek as your 6th wide receiver. 6 wide receivers. Interesting. Not sure, how McCarthy would lay out the depth chart, how much at each position he would have. I definitely do think he would be the type of guy to have 6 wide receivers constantly. Instead, I think the Steelers usually run with 5 right here. I like it. Dobbs on the free agent market. I would love that. Ayuk, not so sure just because of how things ended there in San Francisco. But DK, yes. I mean, rumors you could trade him or cut him, something like that, with his guaranteed money getting voided in his contract. I don't think the Steelers are going to do that to him. But DK, Dobbs, Mekhi Lemon as your top 3, hell yes. Later pick at wide receiver, wouldn't mind that, but also at the same time, how much does Mike McCarthy like Roman Wilson? I do think you'll get one or the other. I don't think you'll get both. Either the Steelers move on from Roman Wilson and you add that later pick wide receiver, or they hold on to Roman Wilson and, you move somewhere else with that wide receiver pick. Also, it depends on, Steelers trade up. How many draft picks are they going to have? Ben Skoranek also, he's a lock right there. So if you have just a foursome start at your wide receiver position with DK, Dobbs, Lemon, and Ben Skoranek, you've already improved your wide receiving core to the best it's been in 4 years, easily right there. Concepts here. Guessing Kyler should be an interest to start free agency. See, Kyler Murray, I just said a moment ago why I a little hesitant. Are the Steelers going to all of a sudden, this will be Murray's 5th or 6th year in the league, something like that, maybe even a little bit more. Are they going to bust him out of whatever the hell happened there in Arizona, and he's going to be looking like a 1st overall pick again? I give a better chance of that happening with McCarthy at the helm, but not a whole lot. Also, I mean, geez, talk about looking at a giant in Will Howard, and then there's Kyler Murray bouncing out from behind him. Don't like the Murray size there. We already saw how well that went with Russell Wilson. I don't think you want to do that again, but I would go Murray if, say, Rodgers still plays hard to get and all the other options have dried up. And then Kyler, if he comes at, a bare minimum league contract, kind of like the Russell Wilson thing, then yeah, screw it. Take a shot and it won't hurt you all that much. My guy Aaron Rodgers will have way better weapons this year, hopefully, plus a veteran left guard. Yeah, I mean, left guard, is that going to be, say, Amalu? Are the Steelers interested in bringing him back? We'll have to wait and see. There's a new guard today on the market who got released. Wouldn't mind if the Steelers tried to pick him up, but he might come at a fortune there. Rodgers definitely, I think, will have better weapons next year. I think McCarthy, he's gonna, maybe be on the forefront of getting another wide receiver or two, give Rodgers all the talent he needs on the offensive side of the ball to try to make stuff happen. Also, would be nice to get a little nest of talent around Will Howard and maybe a draft pick who the Steelers had, if they had one. Any chance Tua has to settle for a backup job, him behind Rodgers would be cool. I also like Mason, just a random hypothetical for fun. Talking about Rudolph for starter, I have zero interest. No offense to Rudolph. Love him. Love the guy. Zero interest in Mason Rudolph starting any games for the Steelers. Think we saw that the Mason we saw in Tennessee turns out to be the Mason here in Pittsburgh as well. There was no renaissance show up of the Mason Rudolph who took the Steelers to the playoffs 3 years ago. So yeah, I'm good with Mason Rudolph. Tua, same thing. I actually would probably take Kyler over Tua. I have zero interest from Tua. Dude is one hit away from his NFL career being over. Lefty in the cold, hasn't won in the cold whatsoever. Yeah, no interest from the Steelers for me. Rodgers apparently demanding a private bathroom to be installed. I can't blame him. I'm sure Cam Hayward would love to have one too. TJ, he might just at this point say, screw it, take $1 million off of my $41 million contract to put more crappers in the restrooms at the facility if they are as bad as that NFLPA report card said. Concepts here. Tate and Tyson also seem like bona fide WR1s. His injury concerns are the only thing hurting his stock. Both are fun. Hey, if Tyson's injury concerns, if they are hurting his draft stock, I'll say good, because that dude learned under Hines Ward, and you turn on the tape, he is electric. And I even heard one comp to Jordan Tyson. How about this? Mike McCarthy. I'm sure this puts Tyson on his brain a lot. CD Lamb, I'm hearing are one of the maybe best case scenario comps. I was looking for a better term there, but best case scenario turnout for Jordan Tyson, maybe a CD Lamb. I would move heaven and earth to get that dude, if as long as you figure out what your quarterback situation is going to be. I'd do it regardless of the quarterback situation. I'd move a first, our 21st pick, one of our second round or third round picks in this draft, plus a second in next year's draft, to go get Jordan Tyson. If he's going to be your long-term wide receiver one, I'm here for it all day long. Ayuk only a vet minimum. Yeah, that's the other reason why I would be in on Ayuk. But also, if it comes to, a choice between Ayuk or draft pick or a Ben Skoranek, I'm taking Skoranek in the draft pick over Ayuk, to be honest. Just tons of bad tape, and then the off the field stuff as well with the Giants last year really, really turned me off of him, and I think the Steelers as well. But vet minimum, again, that situation pops up kind of like if that would happen with a Kyler Murray. I'd do it. Saw Brandon Ayuk at the Pittsburgh airport meme today. They shrunk the guy, and yeah, I did see that too. They had the Kyler Murray at the Pittsburgh airport in front of the Hertz rent-a-car thing right there, and they had the little tablet thing there as well. I thought that was a good one, and it is going everywhere right now. Not Mason as a starter. I meant Tua backup, or Mason as a backup. Still Mason in general. I think Will Howard needs to be your quarterback too if you add anybody. And then if Howard's your QB2, then late round draft pick, something like that at quarterback. I love Mason, but think the time has come to go our separate ways, unless McCarthy's just completely in love with the guy. If Mason also, maybe wants to take a tiny bit of a pay cut or something like that, maybe he doesn't need to, but it would be ideal if he can be a QB3. I take that as well. Truth here, what's going on, Truth? Doesn't matter about Rodgers. Sucks being a Steeler fan. No future hopes to the team. We're pushing it back again, just like what we did last year. We're kicking the quarterback in the first round can down the road again. Here's to the better draft class apparently next year. Arch Manning, Lenoris Sellers, Dante Moore. Maybe those guys then will be one of the Steelers saviors. But sounds like Truth, just like you said here. No hope for any sort of massive addition to the QB room. It's going to be Rodgers again, or enjoy the Kyler Murray show. The only guy that they could bring in that's, not named Will Howard or a draft pick that I would kind of get excited about, a late round draft pick, well, midday draft pick. If Simpson falls to the second round, then yeah, I'm taking my shot. Drew Aller in the third round, Talon, Green, rounds 3, 4, 5, something like that. A dude in the draft with, capabilities, athleticism, freak traits, stuff like that. Unless it's a Will Howard or, one of those day 2, day 3 quarterback picks with a high upside. Malik Willis, pretty much the only guy other than those two things that I would kind of get excited about to see at the quarterback position. It's going to be Rodgers most likely. If not, it's see what you get out of Kyler Murray. See if you, for some strange reason, bring in Tua, can he actually play in the cold? Just too many damn hypotheticals here. You could fit Kyler Murray in a carry-on bag, way too small and ineffective. Again, the size really comes, really doesn't have me all that interested in him. Unless we know Murray, two-sport athlete, baseball, football. If he wants to play for the Buccos a little bit, go have a Latro practice, then drive back to PNC Park, be in the, 6-hole in the lineup that day. Then maybe I'd take him on the Steelers. Omar's first 3 drafts give me hope. Honestly, no better than Rodgers available at quarterback currently. Just like last year, work with what's available. Do think Malik Willis has, with the tape and improvement, massive improvement he showed in Green Bay last year, I do think he could maybe be a little bit better of a quarterback than Rodgers. At the right price, I'd take a shot on, but anything in that, honestly, Rodgers might be the play. Might be the play. As much as I want this team to move into the future, if you bring back Rodgers, then I guess that helps your win now situation, and then you can continue to groom along Will Howard, maybe a draft pick, and hopefully we see one of those guys mid-season. Want to see them eventually this season. Howard, outside of a preseason game too. Want to see Howard or a draft pick at some point this season, not just in preseason games. But I don't want them to start the season and get, baptism by fire here, if that makes sense. I like Malik Willis, if reasonable. Hesitant since it was the garbage Ravens defense. I get that. You've brought that point up here before concepts, but still, whatever the hell he was in Tennessee and whatever he was in Green Bay, it was a night and day difference. And, I call it Sam Darnold syndrome as well. I'd take a shot on a dude who had the traits and, after a couple spots, found a way for the game to slow down for him, and then is now looking like he could be something better. So we'll see with Malik Willis. 7 of you in here right now. Welcome to the live stream. About 40 minutes into the stream here tonight, talking about Aaron Rodgers and what all he had to say on the Pat McAfee Show here this afternoon. Want to quickly switch up gears and roll through our final 2 big main talking points here tonight. Got the Penguins and the Pirates to talk about. Want to real quick get back into some Penguins hockey. The Pens last night playing another game. I believe this was their 4th game back from the Olympic break, and might have been their worst one in the last 2 months, if we are being honest, here for the Pens. You see the final score right there for the Pens on your screen, 2-1, but the game didn't really feel all that close to what the final score indicated. Pens in Beantown, Boston, and down another center, too. Blake Lizotte out of the lineup last night, day-to-day with a lower body injury, according to head coach Dan Muse. With that, the center rotation got all thrown around last night. Ben Kindle, all of a sudden, he was centering the top line of Ricard Raquel and Brian Rust. You still had the Novak, Chinikov, Malkin line, but with the woes at center continuing, you had Kevin Hayes, I believe, centering Anthony Mantha and Justin Brazeau, and then you had Avery Hayes with Connor Dewar as a center and Nola Chari as a wing. And these center issues, I mean, I'll get to it more here in a second. It is really starting to become worrying if you are the Pittsburgh Penguins, because faceoffs have not been a strong suit whatsoever since 87 has left the lineup. Also, Blake Lizotte, decent on faceoffs, your best penalty killer as well. When both of those guys are out, it is a mix of disaster, and that's pretty much what it was from puck drop to final whistle. Right off the bat, I think like 10 seconds in, Bruins had a chance. Excellent save by Stuart Skinner. They had like 3 or 4 good grade A scoring chances in the first 2 minutes. Somehow, the Penguins ended up getting the first goal of the game. Erik Karlsson, a seeing eye shot from the point through traffic, got past Jeremy Swayman. But after that, Penguins, they then went into some sort of trance or sleep where they just were puck watching the Bruins constantly. They had a power play, the Pens did, couldn't do nothing with it. Bruins come back the other way. They tie it up at 1, roughly 5 minutes into the game. Very, very sloppy defense by the Pens. Then Casey Middlestat for Boston finds himself all alone with some sort of massive breakdown defensively where Malkin and Chinikov were like playing defenseman roles. No idea what happened there. That made it 2-1 Boston. And as you see on the final score, that's pretty much all she wrote. The Pens tried to call a timeout to get things back in order for the team, but didn't really work out. Bruins got away with a terrible penalty in the first period as well. Connor Clifton ended up tripping David Pasternak. Have no problem with the call on Clifton, but then Clifton gets cross-checked atrociously from behind by Morgan Geekie of the Bruins. That doesn't get a penalty call. Also pissed at the linesman, because if you're not going to call a penalty after Clifton gets decked, at least let him go and get his lick back on Geekie. But, they were protecting Geekie like he was the president or something right there. 2-1 was the score. After 1 turned out to be the final score. Pens lifeless first period. Woke up a bit in the second period, but did not find the back of the net. Didn't really come too close for the rest of the game on doing that against Jeremy Swayman, and that's what the final score ended up to be. 2-1 Carlson. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a better first 5 minutes of the game. Tonight wasn't our best effort. At the same time, I still think that we did enough to give ourselves a chance to tie up the game, but wasn't our game tonight. That was from defenseman Erik Karlsson after the game. Pretty much sums up what the game was. Terrible first period, wasn't the best effort, but again, I'm trying to find the silver linings in these losses for the Penguins. Kind of, not quite, but in the same breath as their performance against the New York Rangers back on Saturday, where the team, you just could tell right away, all right, this is going to be a game where the Penguins, they are going to need to fight, and scratch and claw their way to victory. If not, it's going to be a loss. Same thing in this Bruins game, but at least, in their worst of efforts, they're not getting blown out, and it's a close game like that at the end. But in my opinion, still, you want to try to help this team a little bit. If you're Kyle Dubas right now, you have got to add a centerman for the love of the good hockey gods up above. I cannot stand another moment where I see this team get beat cleanly on the face-off because Sidney Crosby isn't out there to help them at all. Got to help this team in some way to start winning face-offs. Go out a centerman. All of a sudden, Vinny Trocheck. I was kind of hesitant about saying the Pens should go after this guy back on Monday night, but now that we're sitting here and after watching that performance for the Pens losing, you see there every third, winning, I should say, 1 out of 3 face-offs. Trocheck, dude, can play all the way around, all around in your lineup. He can be in the top 6, can be a third-line center, wins face-offs, kills penalties, can be on the power play. Dude looks like he could be a key piece to help this team while Crosby is gone, and even help when Crosby gets back. Trocheck said, my sons had a talk with my sons about possibly being traded. Trocheck said, bring him home to Pittsburgh. We'll deal with the contract later. We got a ton of cap space here, but Vinny Trocheck, just in terms of his contributions to the faceoff, one of the better centermen and faceoff guys in the league. Wouldn't mind him for the Pens right about now. Would come at a steep cost. I think you put Trocheck and Robert Thomas, who's another good center, younger than Trocheck, but still got a hefty contract on him. Apparently, price tag for these guys are really, really high right now. You're talking about a first-round pick and one of your top prospects as a entry fee here in negotiations, but we'll see here. Definitely need to add a center in some way. Would hope it would be. I'm kind of half hoping now that it's Vinny Trocheck, even though the contract is what it is. If not, at least go and get a reclamation project. There's reports and rumors out there from all sorts of NHL insiders right now. One report out there is that reclamation projects are still something the Penguins like, and they're going to see if there's an opportunity to add someone like that at the deadline. So maybe prepare yourselves for another Igor Chinikov type acquisition. I was hoping it would have been Kent Johnson, center for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was scratched the other night from the Blue Jackets lineup, and I thought, all right, young kid, hit a bit of a wall there in Columbus, centerman too. Maybe add him, but turns out reports are saying Blue Jackets aren't interested in moving him right now. So, yeah, just don't know how this team heads into the deadline and how they don't add a center. If it's Trocheck, fine. If it's like a young guy like a Johnston, fine. Just wondering how this team goes. Nobody really knows what the Pens are going to do heading into the deadline right now. Maybe they go for a rental like a Scott Lawton or an Eric Holla, but we'll see. After last night, centerman and maybe even another defenseman, those are the biggest two needs for the Penguins, because if that Bruins game last night proved anything, you need to get better on faceoffs, improve in that department, and you need to get tougher on your back end. I love Connor Clifton's game, but not an everyday defenseman. I question that, about Sam Girard right now in that acquisition, but need to get tougher on D. You need to start winning faceoffs if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins. We will be covering the trade deadline coming up on Friday. I think I said that at the top of the show. There's the official thumbnail for Friday's trade deadline coverage. You see Vinny Trocheck right there in Ranger blue, Robert Thomas, another young centerman right there at the bottom in St. Louis Blues white, and then Jason Robertson, still a long shot possibility, but Depends really want to add a bona fide goal scorer. Got Jason Robertson right there as a potential get, but doesn't seem like any of these guys are going to be in the realm of possibility. I wish they were, but we'll see when Friday rolls around here. Some other things going on today in the NHL trade wise. It's been a busy past 24 hours, especially right before we went live as well. Multiple trades have popped off in no particular order. Last night, Nashville Predators making 2 trades. They are big time sellers. They sent forward Michael McCarron to the Minnesota Wild for a second round pick. They also traded forward Cole Smith to the Vegas Golden Knights for a third round pick. Today, Tyler Myers, 36-year-old D-man for the Vancouver Canucks, shipped off to Dallas for a second and a fourth round pick. And then right before we went live, 2 blockbusters were in the works. You had Colton Parayko, veteran defenseman for the St. Louis Blues. Apparently he could be on his way to Buffalo. I have no idea right now since we've been live. That trade was made final. Apparently Parayko going to the Buffalo Sabres for Radim Murka, who was just drafted 9th overall by the Sabres in this past summer's draft. Tall defenseman and a first round pick on top of it. So that is a mega deal right there. And then the Utah Mammoth, apparently they are working on a deal to acquire Mackenzie Weegar, another veteran defenseman from the Calgary Flames. But we'll see if that deal gets done as well. As a matter of fact, let me go here real quick. Did those deals get done? We'll take our first break to look through the things here. Okay. Seeing something here. It's almost about ready to hit the breaking news button. It is related to the Penguins. Kyle Dubas was just on a radio show a moment ago. Apparently, Dubas said he spoke about Evgeny Malkin's future, called him a franchise icon, said he deserved respect, said he's having a spectacular season. Dubas pumping up Gino's tires, said that his future with the team is a private matter. And he said that he and J.P. Barry, Malkin's agent, will speak at a later date. So the new news is that there is no new news for Malkin and possible contract extension for him. So, yeah, nothing happening quite yet with Evgeny Malkin. Sounds like at this point, I'm seeing he's just going to ride out the rest of the year, see how he does, and then the Pens will get that done. Also, would I expect a contract extension to get done before Friday's deadline? Absolutely not. Dubas is going to have his hands full there a bunch. Seeing here if there's any other new stuff on that. If there's any new things on those deals. Looks like Tidge Aginla, son of Jerome Aginla, looks like he is not a part of the Mackenzie Weegar deal that is still pending right now, I believe. No idea whether that Buffalo deal got done with either. So we'll take a look at that later on, and we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff in depth on Friday. Be sure to come back around noon, covering the NHL trade deadline. Crazy stuff always pops off, and year after year, it's starting to get earlier when you see those big deals pop off. But hopefully they save a bit fireworks for Friday here. Back to the comment section before we move into our last top story of the day, that being a quick touch on the Pittsburgh Pirates and what's going on with them. Concepts here, talking about Malik Willis here again. Agreed at the right price for sure. Can't control who he plays against. Did ball out at least. Talking about Malik Willis, yeah. And call it Sam Darnold syndrome. I'd lie if I say I would love to have a 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers rather than go into the unknown with Malik Willis, who has some upside. I'm going to take Willis over Rodgers 9 times out of 10 here. Truth here, Eagles quarterback Tanner McKee might be a good trade for the Steelers. Truth bringing that up. Not for Nick Herbig. I have no idea whether there is any validity or truth to the Steelers being interested in Tanner McKee. Dude beat out Kenny Pickett in Philly for the backup job there, but not going to be trading Nick Herbig for a Tanner McKee like some, Joe Blow insider put out there a few weeks ago. That is absolutely asinine and moronic, and we're not going to do it here. Concepts. Can't wait for your surprise live stream breaking down Khan's major trade for Josh Allen. Heard it here first. Yeah, we will here, and I will probably be, tarps off, twirling a terrible towel in here if the Steelers were to ever trade for Josh Allen. At that point, let's make sure we lock up Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes as well. Just collect all the top quarterbacks in the league like Infinity Stones. And then Khan does that. We might not have draft picks till I'm in a nursing home someday, and we might not have anybody else on the team. You might be saying goodbye to half of your roster that's worth a damn, but hey, one of those quarterbacks got to hit, right? And getting the franchise quarterback, that is a big step towards competing for a Super Bowl once again. Definitely need to re-sign Herbig, keep him in the black and gold, cut Jonnu, extend Darnell. I'm hoping it's just a not a money thing. I'm hoping it's just he's our last resort, so we're going to keep him here in the meantime, talking about why Jonnu Smith is still here. Like, if you're the Steelers, yeah, you got Pat Freiermuth and you got Darnell Washington, but Muth, is he going to be your number one again? Yes. Is he going to pop off under McCarthy's offense? I give it a higher likability of that happening, but you don't know yet. Darnell, he's coming back from a broken arm. Don't know how he is going to be coming off of that injury. I think the Steelers right now, they're just holding on to Jonnu Smith until they, in free agency, guarantee, or the draft, guarantee that they're going to have that, third tight end on the roster, not named Connor Hayward. Hell, in this McCarthy offense, you could see Connor Hayward go back to a fullback setting a bunch more rather than a, third tight end here. So I'm hoping that's the case, but I think the second the Steelers get some competent tight end with a pulse not named Jonnu Smith, that you will see Jonnu get cut free. Not going to panic yet that he hasn't been cut yet, but we'll see after, first few days, week or so of free agency if I'm still feeling that way here. 7 of you in here on this Monday evening. Want to get into the last top story of the day here. Want to talk about Pittsburgh Pirates and more specifically Paul Skeens. Not too much baseball news here today. MLB spring training continuing along here. And yesterday, the Buccos, bit of a different spring training game for them. They were taking on Team Columbia in the their World Baseball Classic team. The Bucks playing them as they prepare for the WBC. And the Bucks actually won that game too. Columbia doesn't have that much star power currently in the MLB. They have a few ex-big league players, but, you know, nothing that's going to make them a powerhouse or any sort of a favorite in the tournament here. But the Bucks doing pretty well. I believe they had just a few starters, Jake Mangum, Spencer Horwitz, Joey Bart, Jared Triolo, Connor Griffin. He played as well yesterday, but it's not like the Bucks were putting out their A lineup, their opening day lineup against Team Columbia here, and they handled them. They thumped them. 7-1 the final score. Jose Urquidy started for the Bucks, went 3 innings, gave up no runs, only walked 1, gave up 2 hits, struck out 3. Think Urquidy, with that performance against Columbia, might have locked up his 5th spot in the rotation should the Pirates not add any sort of left-hander to the rotation. Connor Griffin, an RBI, bloop double for him, showed off the wheels a bit too. Jake Mangum, another good day. Spencer Horwitz as well. So good stuff on the Bucks, their starters, and even their minor leaguers that came in. They just took it to Columbia from start to finish in yesterday's ball game. But the bigger story, I should say, Paul Skeens, Team USA. Skeens on the bump in Arizona yesterday, pitching a couple of innings for Team USA as they get prepped for the WBC. Skeens in that game against the San Francisco Giants, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 earned run, struck out 4. Looks like he is starting to ramp up a little bit here, getting ready for the regular season. Just don't overdo it here in the World Baseball Classic games, Paul, unless it's, the final. Then I would understand if you went, full tilt 100% against these guys. Just don't hurt yourself. So Skeens pitching yesterday looks damn good too in red, white, and blue. Tell me you cannot look at that picture. Tell me you can look at that picture and not be patriotic right there. 15-1 final score yesterday. Team USA over San Francisco. That lineup they put out there, Jesus. Bobby Witt, Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, Alex Bregman, Cal Raleigh as your 1 through 6 in the lineup. That is maybe the most stacked 1 through 6 in the lineup that I have ever seen. All-star games for the MLB included. Roman Anthony, Byron Buxton, Bryce Terang as well were in the lineup yesterday for Team USA. We also know Skeens' pitching schedule throughout this World Baseball Classic tournament. He's going to pitch on Monday. Like I said at the top of the show, we will be live for that game Monday night. He will pitch against current teammate Nick Gonzalez and old teammate Rowdy Tellez and Team Mexico. I'm sure that will be fun to watch Skeens go up against those two guys in particular. So Skeens will pitch versus Mexico on Monday. And then I think also we now learned over the past 24 hours, Skeens will pitch in the semifinal game for the United States. That will be a 4 to 6 day rest period for Skeens. The final of the tournament would be 7 days, so maybe they pause Skeens for that right now. But right now, Skeens set to go on Monday for Team USA, and then he'll pitch in the semifinal game as well. I'm sure Team USA, they want to win this tournament. I would not be surprised if Skeens finds his way into the ball game in some way, shape, or form for the U.S. in the final, even if it's in a bullpen role. But a good start for Skeens to his time with the World Baseball Classic Team USA team. We'll cover Team USA baseball throughout the tournament. We'll be live for games in which Skeens starts, and maybe once we get into the knockout win or go home stage of the tournament, we'll be live for those games as well. Some other Bucks also active for the WBC for the Pirates. Gregory Soto, new Pirates reliever last night, pitching for the Dominican Republic. They faced the Detroit Tigers. 1 inning pitched for Soto. Ended up giving up 1 hit and a walk, but struck out 2. on 20 pitches. Dennis Santana got some work as well. Looked like his stuff was moving real well. Nick Gonzalez and Team Mexico. Gonzalez ended up having a 2 RBI double against the Arizona Diamondbacks in their matchup. So looks like the Bucks representatives in these World Baseball Classic teams look like they're already off to a good start. So we'll see where things go from there. Like I mentioned, I was peeking over occasionally at the Team USA game over to my right a moment ago. Looks like Team USA won that game 14-4. The Bucks did not play today. They'll be back in action tomorrow. Skeens today, all he did for Team USA, hyping up the crowd, giving a few kids a ball, taking a look and studying Tarek Skubal, who threw a bullpen for Team USA as well. So we will definitely keep track of Team USA and Paul Skeens as the World Baseball Classic commences. I believe it actually starts tonight over in Japan. I believe that's where the first set of games are going down. 4 of you in here right now on this Wednesday evening, excuse me. Was thinking to Skeens and Monday there. Any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have, get those in the comment section right now. Going to move into the extra Pittsburgh sports news segment of the program here in a moment. Just some loose end news items that are of relation to Pittsburgh sports. Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, Festori, I think could apply to them. I'll talk about it for, just a couple seconds, and then we move on. Real quick, back to the Twitter timeline here. Any last minute bits of news going on here? Taking a look at that. Got some people on here confirming that the Colton Parayko deal to the Buffalo Sabres in the NHL is official. That is a nice ad on the blue line for the Sabres, but also not sure I really agree with the price tag. Your 9th overall pick from just a few months ago and a first round pick on top of it. Not think that's going to be a good payoff in the end for Buffalo. Seeing more pictures and things here. If anything else is going on here, more Team USA stuff I am seeing. Looks like Rashid Shaheed is expected to test the free agency market. We'll keep tabs on that one here. Going to bring up some free agent targets for the Steelers here in a moment. Shaheed could have been acquired by the Steelers at the trade deadline last year in the NFL. He ends up going to Seattle, wins a Super Bowl there, and now the Steelers a chance maybe at redemption to add Shaheed, but he's going to come at way more of a cost this time. He could have, just given up a 5th round pick and could have gotten a contract extension with him done, but now you're going to give him a contract, not give up a draft pick, but I assume his contract number that he's looking for is way, way higher than what, you maybe could have gotten him for a few months ago. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Extra Pittsburgh sports news for Wednesday, March 4th, wrapping up the show here. Going back into the football world here for a second. Did want to start by talking about NFL free agency and who the Steelers could possibly look at. Some of the big names on the free agent market. Running back Kenneth Walker. Steelers have Jaylen Warren, though. Could you imagine a Kenneth Walker and Jaylen Warren backfield? Talk about running a 2-back set, a bunch there. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, maybe the top wide receiver option for the Steeler. We'll see what team overpays for him. I doubt it would be the Steelers, but Alec Pierce as another big body opposite DK Metcalf, go and get it down the field guy. Maybe then you can add a Jordan Tyson, put him in the slot or something to start his NFL career. That would be an elite wide receiver group. Travis Etienne, another running back on the free agent market. I would go the ETN route, see if you can get him on the cheap, but only if you can't bring Kenneth Gainwell back. And then some other things here. Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum. The Ravens could not come to an agreement with Linderbaum, and now he's going to test the market. So looks like Ravens could be losing their outstanding young center protecting Lamar Jackson up front. I would laugh if he were to go elsewhere. And the Bengals, they ended up not tagging or doing anything of the sort with Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson also posted on social media a goodbye message to Bengals. So Trey Hendrickson, thank you for being tough for the Steelers to handle, but now please go elsewhere out of the AFC North. Would greatly appreciate that. Kyler Murray, you mentioned we've been talking about him a bit. He officially got cut by the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. The Cardinals are going to move on from their first round pick from the 2017 draft, or is it 2019? I forget which draft it was for Kyler Murray. It might have been 2018, right in the middle of the two things I just said. But Murray, could he come to Pittsburgh? Not going to put it at 0%. I put it more at like somewhere in the 10 to 15 range. But you read his stats. I mean, first overall pick, rookie of the year, two-time Pro Bowler, 20,000 passing yards with a little over 3,000 rushing yards, 121 passing touchdowns, 32 rushing touchdowns on top of that. Interceptions, though, 60. I think that that correlates with, his height and, questions about him being able to see over the offensive lineman. So Murray, hard pass. But if it ends up coming back to where, he's a league minimum type guy, then I'd revisit it. Malik Willis as well, available for the Steelers. Teams were very interested in him at the combine. Per reports, he's looking for at least $30 million a year. If the Steelers can maybe get him down to like 2-year $25 million a year, 2-year $30 million a year at maximum, a Justin Fields type contract, then I'd be all for Willis. But $30 million per year, yeah, no thanks for me. Gotta figure out some other stuff before we throw that kind of money at a quarterback. Wide receivers, Calvin Austin apparently looks like he is going to be testing the market. He got a new agency signed with Drew Rosenhaus's agency today. So Austin going under the big NFL agent umbrella. Looks like it's going to be tough negotiations to get him back in the black and gold. We'll see. On the other hand, Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles, apparently they're dangling out A.J. Brown as well for a future first round and second round pick in any potential A.J. Brown trade talk. Good luck trying to get that back there, Philly. Stephon Diggs, he got released today. Talent, yes, I'd try it for the Steelers, but all the off the field stuff, absolutely not. So I'd rather take Brandon Ayuk and pay Ayuk, $10 million rather than bring in a Stephon Diggs on, a $2 million deal. Offensive line, Steelers could use an offensive lineman. The LA Chargers, they released veteran guard Mekhi Becton earlier today. Becton, injury-riddled past. Also, he was a part of that pretty trash Chargers offensive line, but if you're not going to bring back Isaac Seumalo, I'm not sure what the market would be for Mekhi Becton. I'd try for him at least to, have a veteran guard on roster. And if you don't get anybody in the draft, then you won't be forced to throw Spencer Anderson into a starting role just like that. So maybe the Steelers kick the wheels on Mekhi Becton. We'll see. And also linebacker. Still no report or rumor or anything that the Steelers would cut ties with Patrick Queen, but should they do that? If the Steelers want to look the veteran route, the New York Giants cut linebacker and captain Bobby Okereke. Maybe they go and sniff around Okereke. Just realized now I mispronounced his last name. 385 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions in 3 years with the Giants. 46 games. Tons of production right there. If you can get him on a 1-year deal, wouldn't oppose that. And the last big NFL news of the day, massive trade. The Rams acquiring corner Trent McDuffie from the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, in return, got a first-round pick number 29 in this year's draft in Pittsburgh. On top of it, they got a 5th and a 6th-round pick in this year's draft and a 3rd-round pick in 2027. So it's now all of a sudden the Rams, they had 2 first-round picks. Now they moved to 1, and the Kansas City Chiefs, they now are in possession of 2 first-round picks this year. And not sure what the draft priorities there of the Chiefs are, but could they be looking wide receiver? I know they got Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and all that, but I put them as a sneaky team to maybe get a wide receiver with the first early in the draft, not their first round pick, but maybe their first round pick, but definitely early in the draft. I could see the Chiefs doing that. You're talking about the Steelers maybe needing to trade up for Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson. Chiefs, all of a sudden, they have 2 first-round picks. They could be in the business of trading up, hopping in front of the Steelers, outbidding them to go get a guy should one fall. So we'll see there. Steelers insider Nick Farabaugh talking about the draft, by the way, which is 50 days away as well. Nick Farabaugh covers the Steelers, says wide receiver by far still the favorite for the Steelers at number 21, even if they add a guy in free agency. Also said, don't be surprised if the Steelers pick up an offensive lineman or defensive lineman in the first round if their wide receiver options they like are gone. I think we've mentioned that on here before. Would not be surprised if they go offensive or defensive line. You got a couple of good guards. Ione from Penn State is a guard available, probably the top guard in the class out of Penn State. He could be sitting there around 21. You got a couple of first-round tackles. Manuel Pregnon from Oregon. Caden Proctor from Alabama. You got a Utah tackle as well. Keep a lookout for the Steelers to maybe look at those guys. And then defensive line. Edge rusher, defensive end, deep draft class at that position, plus Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. Love him as a possible new nose tackle for the Steelers. But we'll see when draft day arrives here in 50 days. Last things here on the Steelers for today. Turns out the Will Howard stock just continues to rise, not only because Aaron Rodgers talked glowingly of him today on the Pat McAfee Show 2 days ago. Looks like Howard was working out with Fernando Mendoza, who is going to be the runaway first overall pick in this year's draft. So 2 national champions working out together. Howard from Ohio State, Mendoza from Indiana. Still people saying out there that maybe Howard and Mendoza not all that far apart in, their skill sets and all that. So, hey, Steelers fans, if you really like Fernando Mendoza, just think you have a Fernando Mendoza type guy already on your roster. Will Howard. Dude's got the size for the job, enough athleticism for the job, and he's a national champion. And the greatest quarterback, maybe, greatest thrower of the football, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, keeps hyping up Will Howard. Think he deserves a shot. What say you? And also, happy birthday yesterday to Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl hero, Santonio Holmes. Happy birthday to him yesterday. Wrapping up here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, actually, one more guy, by the way, just got released. I think I saw a moment ago. Yeah, 43 minutes ago. Talking about the Steelers possibly adding something in free agency. I could see them adding a D lineman in free agency if they want to go big. Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen just got cut from the Minnesota Vikings because of salary cap constraints. So now the Vikings, just like that, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, both gone. They're 2 interior defensive linemen from last year. Wrapping up here in baseball, some big news today coming out of one of the division rivals of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds. Turns out their starting pitcher and ace, Hunter Green, dealing with right elbow issues and will be getting an MRI. First off, sucks. Hate when pitchers in the MLB, especially damn good ones, get injuries like that, but that is a massive, massive blow to the Cincinnati Reds if it turns out to be something bad for Hunter Green. I could maybe see at just a start, it's going to be a month for Hunter Green, but MRI on his right elbow for issues could be anything from something that keeps him out a month to ends his whole entire season. So we'll definitely keep tracks on that. Speaking of guys missing the season, Atlanta Braves, their designated hitter and outfielder, Jurickson Profar, got suspended 162 games for a positive performance-enhancing drug test yesterday. Reason why I bring that up has no relation to the Pirates, but for those who have been monitoring the Andrew McCutchen situation, now all of a sudden, Braves, they need a DH. Andrew McCutchen's available. Could be a match made right there for Atlanta. Then that'd be hilarious if those two teams, when they meet up in the regular season, you got Ozuna playing for the Pirates and McCutchen playing for the Braves. They just swapped DHs in the end of this whole thing, thanks to the idiocy of Jurickson Profar. Also, for the Pirates, they yesterday updated MLB's top 30 prospect rankings for all MLB teams. Some new prospects entering into the Pirates' top 30. Antoine Kelly, who last year emerged as one of the top pitching prospects for the Bucks. He'll be representing the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic. He is now the number 9th prospect in the Pirates farm system. Another pitcher, Christian Curtis, number 24 prospect in the Bucks pipeline. Reynold Navarro, a left-handed pitcher, comes in at number 27 in the Bucks top 30, and then infielder Deuce Gorson, who's putting together a decent spring training right now. I believe he picked up a few RBIs yesterday in the Bucks win over Columbia. Gorson, he is now number 29 in the Bucks top 30 prospects according to MLB Pipeline. Falling out of the top 30, outfielder Mitch Jebb, infielder Yoni Severino, left-handed pitcher Anthony Solometo. Really thought the Bucks had something in him. And also first baseman Jared Jones, not the Jared Jones, the pitcher that everybody knows and loves. Instead, it was the LSU draft pick from last summer. And the last thing, baseball-wise here for the day, Nolan McLean, talking about Team USA baseball here. We'll be covering any news with them. Nolan McLean, pitcher for the New York Mets, scheduled to be a starting pitcher in the rotation for Team USA. Turns out he experienced vertigo-like symptoms Friday night, and he is going to be day-to-day out for Team USA. So maybe that affects Paul Skeens and his pitching schedule. We'll see if McLean, all of a sudden can't go for most of this tournament. Maybe you see him starting just one game in the WBC, and then guys like Skeens, maybe their start dates get thrown all out of whack, but we'll see. No extra Pittsburgh Pirates news, Penguins news, here for this evening. We pretty much talked about everything there is to talk about around them in the NHL trade deadline, but do want to wrap up, and hate doing this, wrapping up on a sour note here. RIP to legendary college and Notre Dame head coach Lou Holtz. Knew he was in hospice for a little while now, and officially passed away today at the age of 89. So RIP Lou Holtz, the football world as a whole, not just college, not just NFL, the football world as a whole, losing a giant icon today. So thoughts, prayers, condolences to his family during this time. Wrapping up the show here, about approaching an hour and a half into live stream here tonight. Wrapping up here, couple last concepts. Yeah, I saw that one. My bad. Definitely need to re-sign Herbig. See that as well. A third for DJ Moore. Does that seem possible? Since the Bears have Odunze, Burden, and their tight ends. Maybe you can end up like that, but that would have to take some serious negotiating. Maybe that's a draft night type move, but if the Philadelphia Eagles right now, with all the drama that they've had with A.J. Brown, if their starting price is a first and a second, then I'd assume that the Bears are going to have their asking price for DJ Moore around the same. area right now. But if you can maybe wear him down a little bit in negotiations, maybe there's a guy they really like on day 2 of the draft. If you can slide a third round pick their way for DJ Moore, I'd be okay with that. Maybe it's there's a player that they really love, but all the wide receivers outside of the first round guys are all dried up. Then, him, DJ Moore, I'd take it. Seems to be that perfect middle ground guy that the Steelers are looking for. Not the super tall, go and get it downfield guy, not the catch it at the line of scrimmage to get yards after the catch guy. Seems like a dude who can work those intermediate, medium, middle routes and the middle of the field, all that. So, yeah, I'd take DJ Moore. Concepts here. McDuffie and Linderbaum are the 2 guys I was pounding the table for in 2022. What could have been? Yeah, Linderbaum definitely was a guy that Steelers should have taken back then. And McDuffie, do you imagine if today you had Trent McDuffie and Joey Porter Jr. as your corners? Maybe the Steelers at this point would have made the similar move the Chiefs did, trading away McDuffie because Porter would have need paid. But McDuffie, JPJ for the last 3 years, that would have been nice. THP, really wish if the defensive end from Texas Tech isn't there for Dallas, we go get him like the Steelers to trade up to 12. Talking about David Bailey from Texas Tech. Yeah, he is a monster. I just yesterday got through all the defensive line workouts that I had recorded from the combine. David Bailey's that dude. And so is, the 2 Ohio State guys who are like outside linebackers, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, but David Bailey's a dude. I think I got my thing here somewhere. Let me bring it up for 1 second. But yeah, David Bailey, the Steelers really want to, make sure they have a TJ Watt succession plan, not just a Cam Hayward succession plan. That might be the guy right there, David Bailey, right here, defensive ends. Bailey right now, still have him as my number 2 guy, I believe, behind Ruben Bain, but as a, outside linebacker type, but 6'3", 251, ran a 4.5, 140 with a 162 10-yard split. Big 12 defensive lineman of the year, first team AP All-American, 14 and a half sacks. Last year, most in college football. His comp right now is 2016 Brian Burns. If you can add Brian Burns all of a sudden to this defense, even though you have Watt and Highsmith, I'd take the chance just because, get the dude on roster. We'll figure out a spot for him later. So definitely like that David Bailey. And last comment here, appropriate. Lou Holtz, R.I.P. Lou Holtz. Yeah, thank you there, THP. Appreciate it. We're going to wrap up there on that comment. Rest in peace to college football icon. So it's going to wrap it up here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. One last thing here real quick. Turns out a piece of that Mackenzie Weegar trade in the NHL, Mackenzie Weegar, veteran defenseman from the Flames going to the Utah Mammoth, going back to Calgary in the steal, a former Penguin, Olli Maatta, on the move. So Maatta going up to play for the Flames. Best of luck to him. So that's going to do it here. I want to thank you all for joining me here this evening. Last note here on the Penguins, this radio broadcast, Kyle Dubas did apparently forward Tristan Brose for the Penguins as week to week with an undisclosed injury. That absolutely sucks. Damn. So, all right, that's going to do it. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. On your way out, please hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Like this live stream, share this live stream in the comments section. Any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have after the fact, leave those there. I will see them and give them a like and respond to you as well. Also, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And tune back in a little bit later on tonight for SCSR 60. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. See you back here probably tomorrow for some more Pittsburgh sports news. Peace.